What is going on, Crisis Actors? It is episode 1066 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic Wednesday today. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. The sun is shining on this beautiful Wednesday, and I'm feeling great. How about you, Brett?
Well, now you know what that means. Now we're going to have tech issues because the sun is shining now, so it's somehow going to work in reverse, where we're going to have some type of internet issue, even though normally you would think it would only happen when the weather is bad.
Stop with your magical thinking.
I am for somebody who is, I would like to think of as like fairly, not smart, but at least analytical in a certain sense. I do fall into magical thinking quite a bit. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you guys all hit the like button on this episode, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already.
Sorry, we have a 20 that I
go for it.
Really forgot about. Sorry about that. Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Wednesday, Brett and Mary. With all of the convo about original movies, I want to recommend Solo Mio. I saw it on the plane after hearing Kevin James and Jonathan Rumi were connected. Not my normal genre, but it was good." Yeah, I did actually consider going to the theaters to watch Solo Mio, but it was just, I don't know.
What was it about? I think I vaguely remember us talking about it.
It was a Kevin James rom-com where, if I recall correctly, his character is about to get married, but something goes south. His relationship is over. He decides to go on the honeymoon alone.
I remember. Oh yeah, I watched the trailer for that.
He meets his new flame in Italy, and there's a whole thing about it. I don't really remember all the details, but it sounded like charming enough for a simple rom-com where there is so little of those to be seen these days. I didn't end up seeing it, though. I would watch it on a plane. It's a perfect movie to watch on a plane.
You know, we'll know that society has hit the end when Kevin James recreates the Kevin James meme. I don't want him to do that. You know,
I hope he just hasn't even seen it yet.
That would be my hope as well, that he's just so tuned out of the internet that he doesn't even know that he was turned into a meme. Okay. Guys, like I said, hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you all for doing that. If you're not a member of the Timcast Discord, you should go and join there. On Saturday, this past week, I did a 1-hour show at 7 p.m. It was a lot of fun to do that, talk a little bit about Hollywood, and then get a chance to talk to you guys on, like, you know, basically on call, which was a lot of fun. So we're hoping to do that, you know, once every 2 weeks. I was trying to think of how to phrase this the other day. When something is bi-weekly, does that make it twice a week or every other week? Or
wait, haven't we settled this in a poll?
We never settled
before?
it. I think we argued about it. I don't know if we even did a poll about it. Or is bi-monthly twice a month, or is it every other month?
Okay, so can we settle this with a poll today?
I'm gonna, yes.
I could have sworn we did before, but
you know, we'll do it again.
Wrong.
Monthly.
Bi-monthly or bi-weekly?
I want to do bi-monthly. So is that twice a month or every other month?
I think it should mean twice a month, but I think that it actually means every other month.
Well, it's up there. It's you know what? In it's Pride Month, so bi-monthly is a perfect time to figure out the answer to this question. What does it all mean? I don't know, but we are hoping to do it twice a month. Every other week, I will hopefully be doing a show on the Discord. So we will leave that up there so people can vote in the poll. Right now, it's fairly split. We're looking at a 56% say twice a month. It's going down, though. So people they're having a lively discussion about it. All right.
Everyone feels really strongly about this one.
Exactly. So what are we getting into today? We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Tom Holland and his wife, maybe wife. I don't know.
Yeah, they're married. They're married. Did they not?
She's been cagey about Law Roach notwithstanding. She's been cagey about admitting it. Tom Holland and his maybe wife, Zendaya, bullied Marvel into changing a scene from a movie because they finally worked with an actual director who knew what the hell he was doing, of course, that person being Christopher Nolan. And they have bullied Marvel into changing their ways. No more just, we'll figure it out as we go. Now they actually want to know what the scene means. What is my motivation, he asks, director.
It's like, why does Spider-Man matter?
Exactly.
In a greater sense.
I mean, there is some of that in that article, which is a bit absurd. It's like, why does this movie need to exist? Shut up. Shut up.
Like,
to
bro,
sell
you didn't come
toys,
up with it.
to sell toys, and to beat up bad guys, and for Peter Parker to complain. So we will talk about that. Them bullying Marvel. It's good to see. We're also going to talk about how the movie Obsession has ignited a discussion around a topic called heteropessimism.
Yes.
If you're wondering,
well, not just Obsession. Plenty of Hollywood projects lately have been spelling doom for heterosexual relationships, including marriage. And it's not just Obsession, it's also including the drama. And Netflix project called Something Very Bad is going to happen.
yes.
I think you can tell the direction that things are going.
Mike in the chat says, Brett makes everything so damn confusing. Tell me about it, bro. Welcome to my brain. You think it's bad
How
for
have
you?
you made anything confusing?
I don't know. But the point is, if you think it's confusing for you, bro, you haven't seen the inside of this thing here. So we're going to talk about...
machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Exactly. We're also going to talk about how Hollywood just might be saved by the sensitive lads. The sensitive young men are going to save Hollywood with their new takes on cinema. Also, there's a celebrity stalker problem going on right now. I mean, that's kind of an omnipresent thing. It's an omnipresent thing in Hollywood. It is interesting to see some of these cases because you can get an idea of which ones have security and which ones don't. Because one of the things that I always find funny is, like, there's a conservative, like, clapback argument that gets made anytime a celebrity says something they don't like, especially about guns. They're like, you say that behind your layers of security. I'm like, okay, does the dude who plays Joe Schmo 32 on some Amazon show have security? I doubt it.
No, but Sabrina Carpenter definitely does.
She does. So we've got a 20. From Weary Traveler. Weary Traveler says he is racist and a heterosexual pessimist.
Wait, who is?
Weary Traveler.
Oh, he's identifying as
yes.
that. Oh, okay.
And a heterosexual pessimist.
Good for you.
There you go.
Except for the pessimist part.
Yeah. So we got that. We've got a bunch of other stuff. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. If you're ready to go, we can first we can knock on wood or
Yes.
make sure that the tech is all working.
Whatever is the closest polymer material.
Yes, that's the best thing I got going over here. So if you're ready to go, we can go. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go for it.
Celebrity stalkers are showing no signs of stopping or slowing down, and you're going to notice a pattern because they commit most of their crimes in places like LA or New York, where, of course, law enforcement is notoriously lax. And that is no exception when it comes to famous people being the victim. The latest example is Sabrina Carpenter, although last year we discussed Taylor Swift getting a restraining order against her stalker in New York who was dumpster diving outside of her apartment, probably looking for some used underwear or something. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that serious. You literally throw a napkin away.
He wanted her DNA, is the point. And then we also discussed a stalker who was traveling all over the world after Dua Lipa throughout her tour.
Callum Turner's got to be scared. He had
portraits of her tattooed on his arms and legs, was ranting about his dedication to her online and getting in fights with her fans, going to the front row of every one of her concerts. So this latest example doesn't sound quite as extreme, but it's still pretty terrifying. Sabrina Carpenter filed for a temporary restraining order because a man named William Applegate showed up at her home in Los Angeles 3 days in a row, with the police being absolutely useless at protecting her from this person who obviously is mentally ill and out to get her.
Save her, Karen Bass.
I mean, seriously, this is why we need Spencer Pratt. Sabrina Carpenter is seeking court-ordered protection from a man she says showed up to her home less than 24 hours after being arrested for trying to enter her front door. And this is 2 incidents, but there were 3 in total, 3 days in a row. So, of course, TMZ was the first to report on this, as always. The singer's legal team beelined it to court on Friday and filed a petition for a restraining order against a 31-year-old man named William Applegate, according to new legal docs obtained by TMZ. Sabrina claims that William Applegate showed up at her LA home on May 23rd. I guess he was looking for a house tour of a couple different varieties, unannounced and uninvited. She says it was clear to her that his approach was deliberate, calculated, and aggressive, which is deeply alarming. The filing includes photos from Sabrina Carpenter's Ring camera showing a man at her front door. In her declaration, Sabrina says the man tried to open her front door and then rang the doorbell. Sabrina claims that her security confronted him, but he refused to comply. Sabrina then says that he pretended to know her and did not leave until cops arrived and arrested him. She claims less than 24 hours later, after his arrest, he returned to her home on May 24th and left when security told him to bounce, and then showed up again on May 25th, prompting yet another police response. In her declaration, she writes, William Applegate is a complete stranger to me. I have never met him or communicated with him in any way. I have no desire to meet or communicate with him. Sabrina asked for and was granted a temporary restraining order requiring him to stay away from her, her sister, and her sister's boyfriend. There is a hearing set for later this month to determine whether to extend the temporary order to a permanent one. And it is relatively easy to get a temporary restraining order. You don't really have to prove that someone intended to threaten or hurt you, but it remains to be seen whether this will result in a permanent order. It shouldn't just result in a permanent restraining order, though. This guy should be behind bars because he's obviously out of his mind, whether it's in a mental institution or a law enforcement correctional facility. This person should not be walking around in the wild.
These types of got a big super chat here. Holy crap. $100 from Flip Sides. Thank you. Says long time watcher, first time caller. Have a party. Wow, they really give you a lot of characters at this level. I would like to shout out my support for the men of the Gongo. Let's go. I don't think they get enough coverage. Shout out to the white balance on Mary's camera.
Thank you. Or, I don't know. Probably not in a compliment.
No, it looks pretty good. It's like you got some pallor. That's the word for it.
Looks
pallor.
because the sun is finally out.
Yeah.
It was raining for all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Party.
The men of the Gongo, thank you, especially after these women here in America who are like fighting for like days off work because of period cramps. You know,
I mean, in my personal opinion, I think that we should have voluntary menstrual seclusion spas where women can gather during their menstrual cycle. But that's just my take. Anyways, you were in the middle of a thought.
I was
before the party.
These are like this is the hardest stuff. Like the only thing probably less likely to get prosecuted is like internet crime. Like it's low priority. They do not care in these cases. They might care a little bit because it's Sabrina Carpenter, but it's just repeat business. The guy's going to keep coming back. He's going to get 5150, maybe. He'll go to a psych ward for 3 days, and then they'll let him out.
That's how it tends to work, not just in LA, but all over the country. And it doesn't seem like she's getting special treatment because she's famous and rich. I'm honestly surprised that some random person, a civilian, could just walk up to her front door.
Or know where she lives.
Her to be in a gated community where that's not even possible. So he did this 3 days in a row and was not, detained for longer than that because that's just how things work in LA. And this came up last year when Taylor Swift was dealing with repeated encounters with her stalker, and everyone was clapping back and saying, you voted for this, you brought this upon yourself, no one feels bad for you because you have advocated for the policies that allow lenience on crime.
But here's the thing, you're wrong, Mary, because a guy left a comment on the TMZ article that says more predatory alpha males in Trump's America. So
what?
Yeah. So my favorite.
In what world is the stalker an alpha male?
My favorite thing to do now in comment sections is to see how long it takes in comment sections that have nothing to do with politics. How long it takes to get to either Trump or Israel. Those are my personal favorites.
Yeah.
In this case, it's
both a self-proclaimed Nazi and a Zionist.
I was looking at this article earlier about this guy who was, I guess he was on a reality TV show, and I guess he used to be a cop, and in Pennsylvania, and like the mayor of this guy's town was like, I can't believe somebody would leave law enforcement to be a reality TV star. I'm like, well, both people hate both of them on principle. It's just one's less likely to get you shot than the other one. But the point was, couple comments down was like, because basically the was it the mayor, the governor, whoever it was basically like, we wasted all this money training this guy. This guy who's like the mayor of a town in Pennsylvania says we're wasting all this money training this guy. And a guy left a comment like, well, with all the money we're giving to Israel. I'm like, I don't know how much this town in Pennsylvania is giving to Israel, but bro, there's all sorts of places on the internet where you can go have that discussion. It doesn't necessarily need to be here, right?
Yeah.
And just like this one, I don't know whether Trump's America is what caused Sabrina Carpenter to get stalked by a weirdo.
No,
maybe it is, but I doubt it.
Bass,
yes.
If you really want to get political about it, it is the mayor and governor's fault on a larger scale.
I guess she said if I get reelected, I'm gonna clean up the tents. They're like, bro, you're in office now. You could just do that now if you wanted to.
But what do you make of that? Do you think that's a callous response, the way that people talked about it in regard to Taylor Swift?
The stalking?
Specifically? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think so. Look, kind of like how I always point out that the argument seems to be whenever a celebrity has a problem, they're like, well, they've got money. What are they worried about? Because that's the average person's general first concern, right? Your order of importance in life is to make sure you have enough money to pay your bills. So you can't imagine that somebody who doesn't have that one first order concern that you have has any struggles whatsoever. So people tend to have a very hard time having any type of empathy for celebrities because they've got money. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have to deal with people making her uncomfortable, or that she doesn't have to deal with, having her space invaded, which is clearly what's happening.
In a lot of ways, it's mo money, mo problems, or rather in this case, like in regard to fame, you have different problems than the average person. And this is obviously something that should be taken seriously. And yes, she has advocated for policies that led to the fact that he was released from jail multiple times after showing up to who knows what, kill her.
This is only the only way this is more ironic is if it's Zara Larson who this happens to, who says she loves criminals.
Yeah, love criminals. We love criminals in Zara Larson's world.
Yep. I still say that the new version of We Love Landlords from Matan Evan is We Love Data Centers.
Yeah,
because everybody,
I'm on that.
Everybody,
I'm on that train
you
now.
should tweet that. You should tweet We Love Data Centers, and just the hate you will get.
Keep an eye out for an upcoming video on a internet show because it's about how great data centers are. Anyways, aside from all that. This, for some reason, just, I guess because it's taking place in LA, reminded me of the bling ring scandal. And since you mentioned this resentment for the wealthy, even the, people who with a net worth in the tens of millions, like Sabrina Carpenter, and the fact that people have such hatred for the wealthy these days, it is strange looking back on the response to the bling ring. Because, these were literal teenagers, like high school students. I think in one case, a middle school student, breaking into celebrity homes and stealing designer bags and clothes and shoes. And at the time, they were reviled for what they were doing. But I think if the bling ring happened today, which it likely wouldn't because of the fact that celebrities have ramped up security and ring cameras exist these days, I think they would be publicly celebrated for what they did.
Does that make a bedazzled
2026.
ring? Does that make a bedazzled ring camera a bling ring? That's what it is.
Yes.
They would be. No, so I've actually mentioned it on this show before. I was watching like an old episode of White Collar where Neil goes undercover as like a butler in this like rich family. And basically the premise is like somebody's trying to rob, like the family had a son that went missing when he was a teenager. Now like a lookalike, or what they think is a lookalike, has like reappeared, and they think he's trying to like steal the family's wealth. And the call to action is literally like a family's fortune is at stake. I'm like, you can't write that today. Everybody like, good, they deserve to lose their money because they're old money. He's got a butler. He's basically a slave.
And this brain rot had not set in until the late 2010s at the earliest. I was on my Downton Abbey rewatch a few months back, and it really portrays this aristocratic family as being a pillar of their community who actually contribute to the community around them, who are, of course, not as wealthy. And these days, they would never portray it that way. But it is historically accurate. Anyways, meanwhile, Chris Brown is dealing with his own stalker situation, multiple people showing up to his house in quick succession. TMZ reported that he continues to deal with scary situations at his LA mansion, with yet another person arrested at the property. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ that LAPD was called to his home on June 2nd, that's yesterday, and they say the initial call came in as a burglary suspect at the home. It was a female who had broken into the home, but then when they arrived, they took her into custody for trespassing, but she never made it inside. That comes days after he dealt with a man being arrested outside his home, only to be rearrested when he showed up again after being released from custody, and then was taken into custody a third time after showing up again at Chris's home. This is just what's going on in places like LA and New York. It's obviously on the ballot right now. As we're looking ahead to the mayoral election, I think that LA needs Spencer Pratt to swoop in and save everyone from these marauders. But who knows if that'll really happen, because they don't vote for their own interests.
I mean, it depends on whether we're going to get another week of mail-in ballots coming after the fact. Because if so, I don't have a rosy view on how that's going to play out. Though I did hear that Steve Hilton might have actually done. I didn't look it up because we were talking yesterday about Mark Ruffalo and endorsing Tom Steyer, who's like one of those far left hedge fund dudes who's advocating for taxing the rich, yes, including myself, climate action, climate justice, whatever that means. All
There's
that
another billionaire that I think they were discussing on IRL not too long ago for allegedly money laundering through poker.
Oh, really?
Who was that?
Like what? Like they would lose on.
Was it Pritzker?
So they would like lose on purpose to funnel money.
I think that was the case. Yeah, it was an allegation made at Pritzker, I believe.
They did that in the I remember that. Yeah, they did that in the third James Bond, the third Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie. They have Zukovsky take a payout by purpose, like the girl throws a game of Baccarat to
and he was like, I guess I'm just lucky.
The world is not enough.
It sounds like something that would be in a movie, but it is real.
In the movie they did it, and even James Bond is like that. It was in The World Is Not Enough, and he's like very suspicious because she loses like $1 million in one bet, and then just like doesn't even think about it, just kind of walks away. He's like, that doesn't seem real. We got a 20 here from Pop Culture Junkie. It says, I've heard this from 3 different friends of mine in the LA area. Want to make a lot of money and never run out of customers? Get into the security system installation and maintenance business. Yeah, sense.
There was a service that I think we discussed on IRL as well, where you can pay for security to stay in a parked car outside of your home in LA. You know, I guess when your kids are home, but you haven't gotten home from work yet, you can do that.
Makes sense.
That's just for like middle class families at this point. That's how dangerous it's gotten.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the sensitive young men. They're saving Hollywood, apparently.
Yeah, the future is looking bright for these Gen Z directors, Kane Parsons and Curry Barker, who directed Backrooms and Obsession, respectively. After the massive success of both movies, which continues to be proven at the box office, they have deals on their door. They're both the hottest girl at the prom. And a sequel to Backrooms has already been announced as going into early development. Kane Parsons is currently seeking a screenwriting collaborator. People are praising him for taking all of the criticism in stride. A lot of people thought that this movie could have had some room for improvement in terms of storyboarding, so that's why people are happy to hear that he has a screenwriting partner for the next one. And for Curry Barker, he has several projects in the pipeline. He is at the center of a major Hollywood studio bidding war with offers for his next project already reaching 8 figures.
I thought he was doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes.
That is the case. He already has his next 2 movies lined up and a new horror film for Focus Features and a reimagining of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for A24. And they mention from a $750,000 indie to one of the most sought after filmmakers in the industry. It's been quite the month.
Anything's better. The guy that I was talking about yesterday, this director that nobody cares about named Adam Marcus, who was dunking on Val Kilmer after he died. And my point was basically like, yeah, I've heard he was a horrible dude, but like, it's been a year. Why are you doing this? Grow up. And he directed the 2013 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is it's just derided.
I didn't know one existed.
Yep, Texas Chainsaw 3D or whatever, and like nobody liked it. It was considered, if I remember correctly, a direct sequel to the 1974 movie, and it's not well regarded. So this is hopefully going to be on better terms.
A redemption moment for the franchise, perhaps. Yeah, and people love an underdog story, which is the case for both of these guys. Kane Parsons is only 20 years old. Curry Barker is 26. They're both, I guess, former and current YouTubers who broke into the mainstream Hollywood industry. And they're also seeing this as a success for Gen Z in general, that they've finally broken into the industry to overtake their Boomer and Gen X predecessors. One tweet, quote tweeted it, the announcement that they were the top 2 at the box office this past weekend, saying, "Finally, the reign of the Boomer and Millennial slop comes to an end. Put your Marvel toys
Gen
away.
X, I think
time for God's chosen generation to create art on a level that has never been witnessed before."
It was promised to them 26 years ago. The funny thing is, it's not Boomer and Millennial, it's Gen X. Like,
they skipped right over the generation at fault.
He-Man is about to fail, and that's Gen X. That was targeted towards Gen Xers. And then Scary Movie's going to succeed, and that at the very least was created most likely by Gen Xers.
But in spirit, the take is basically correct, that this is sort of a rebellion against Gen X film tropes that we're all sick of by now.
You know what he can do? You know how you'll know that Backrooms has devolved into Hollywood meta slop? When they make one where like an actor falls into the clips into the backrooms and it's just empty sound stages.
Yeah, it would be literally the experience of filming the average Marvel movie now in a giant blue screen room.
Yep.
And I saw a piece in the Free Press titled "The Kids Who Grew Up Online Are Coming for Hollywood." People like the idea that these are misfits, they're outcasts, and they are finally, showing the world their creativity and getting the credit they deserve. Another thing that I've noticed is people pointing out their demographics as sensitive young men. And this is a term that has been floating around online for a couple of years now. And I guess we never really discussed it because I brought it up to you earlier and you had never heard this archetype before. So let me explain.
Yes, this was new to me.
So the sensitive young man is an archetype and internet slang term that gained viral popularity in 2024, describing a young man who prioritizes spiritual and emotional values over societal norms, often leading to feelings of being misunderstood or alienated. The term is rooted in the 1774 novel The Sorrows of Young Werther, which established the trope of the emotionally intense, melancholic protagonist who fails to fit into conventional society. In modern internet culture, the meme encompasses both sincere and ironic expressions of this identity, frequently associated with the INFP personality type and a rejection of traditional gym bro or hypermasculine ideals. It can be interpreted in a variety of ways. Some people think it represents a rejection of modernity, advocating for empathy, artistic expression, and a desire for brotherhood among men who feel isolated by mainstream culture. But there's also a view that calling oneself a sensitive young man is a dog whistle among alt-right incels, using it to frame themselves as victims of society while distancing themselves from alpha masculinity to express resentment toward women or the longhouse.
So he's a Sigma young man.
So I think that is kind of at the root of a lot of the unprecedented hate targeting both of these movies. I've seen a lot of gender war slop discourse in regard to Obsession, which we'll probably get into a little bit more later in the show. And a lot of people trashing these directors basically for being Gen Z white men. And I think that's a reason to see their accomplishments as more impressive, because they didn't get a leg up in the industry, certainly, by being white men, especially for their age. They have been remarked as exceptions to the rule for not hating their own audience, though. I mean, I think especially in the case of Backrooms, it's a clear example of fan service, really, because this was a popular internet series before it was adapted into a film.
It actually makes, like, if this franchise or this film getting a sequel doesn't fall into the same case. Like, people are listing it as like something ironic, like, oh, how could this guy who made something original want to do a sequel? But the whole point was that the series was made in multiple parts, so I can 110% buy that he would want to make a sequel that expands on the story.
And from his perspective, with the trajectory of his career, he's only 20 years old. I cannot blame him for taking the opportunity to make this into a juggernaut of a franchise. Mm-hmm. I want to read this tweet from Bill Holt. We've mentioned him on the show before, but I forget in what context. People are calling Kane Parsons, Markiplier, and Curry Barker the new Hollywood, comparing their work to Coppola, Scorsese, and Lucas Revolution of half a century ago. And here's the thing, the great filmmakers of the 70s, of any era, didn't hate the male audience. In fact, each of those maverick auteurs built his legacy on strong male characters. He mentions examples like The Godfather, Taxi Driver, and Star Wars. The greatest cinematic experiences of all time loved men. I haven't yet seen Backrooms, Iron Lung, but Obsession was 100 minutes of dull content designed to condemn male behavior. From the weak, apologetic beta male lead to a script that turns the woman into his victim, to the contrived ending that hands the hero the villain's resolution, everything about this movie made me feel judged guilty simply for being male. And even though the woman commits one of the most gruesome murders I've ever seen, it's the man who pays the price, all for doing what most of us have done at some point, wishing someone would love us. So in a sense, Parsons, Markiplier, and Barker are the new Hollywood, but not because they're so talented, because they spread the same message of hatred for the audience that Hollywood has been pushing for the last decade.
I like Bill. Me and him don't agree on a whole ton in Hollywood, but he interacts with my posts quite a bit, and I think he's at the very least he has very, very like layered, thought out like responses to his thoughts, but sometimes I think he might be a little bit too in the wars, too in the gender and political wars to really enjoy much of anything. And that's just the way it is sometimes. We probably would agree. Like, we would agree on the great stuff that's old is great, but I can find more in the stuff that's new to like than I think he can, personally.
I think his take on Obsession having not seen it myself, I'll admit, is a massive reach. And from the reviews I've seen, it doesn't really address the nuances of the story. I think he might be a little bit too eager to find a reason to condemn this movie or the director just because it's new. And I agree with the gist of the take that this represents like the sensitive young man's triumph in Hollywood, at least for the moment. There was another take that I saw attacking Backrooms as racist. I kid you not.
I do have that here.
So Charles Preston, who in his bio it says he does community engagement for something called Injustice Watch.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. He claims Backrooms is a racist film. It's technically brilliant, but racist. And it's a shame during a time where Black studies is being eliminated on college campuses because I fear people are overlooking the obvious tropes and racist callbacks the film ridiculously displays. White woman therapist plays damsel in distress and moral compass in a film that has her telling her angry, verbally abusive, alcoholic Black male client who has no redeeming qualities that his white wife left him because all he does is whine. She says she, a psychiatrist, can't help him. He's wired like that. She then gets chased by a large, caricatured, exaggerated version of an angry Black man that threatens to end her life. They made this Black man a man who takes no responsibility for his actions until he is locked in an endless liminal space with a white woman shouting at him to quit whining and take personal responsibility. Stop blaming the world, Black man. You're the one that's angry, violent, and abusive in this world. His therapist. Clark, the Black guy, actually starts to prefer the endless liminal space to his outside reality. He's fascinated by it. He has made his home in it, so much so that he takes pleasure in the fact that he can eat and hurt the copied beings in the space with no consequence. Movie reads like, yes, prison is preferred for Black men battling mental health. Want to talk about a place where space and time collapses? Look no further than solitary confinement in prison.
This is what I mean when I say that people, like, unless you actually go and, like, look at something for yourself, you're never going to know whether somebody's doing some type of heavy editorializing. He's just a dude who could have been any race that happened to be cast Chiwetel Ejiofor to play. It's not like the lady's saying any of that. Like, she's not calling him a Black man. Like, is the idea here that to avoid stereotypes, all Black characters or all women characters have to be uniformly good, strong, independent, and without flaw, lest they fall victim to the idea of, you know, having any type of negative traits whatsoever, because it might mean something bad for society.
Which, of course, would make them extremely uninteresting protagonists.
For the women, we call those Mary Sues in the positive in the action film genre. In another genre that's called a soulful saint. They're good. They're even keeled. They don't have a temper. They don't have any flaws really to speak of at all. They're also not interesting and almost uniformly end up being the least liked character in a show, not because of that, but because they just don't stand out. Because there's nothing about them that makes the audience think. And ironically enough, the racist side of this is that they end up giving the characters with more layers to the white people because they're too scared to give it to somebody else, thus actually giving the most interesting roles to white people, which you could condemn as a racist act, although in a weird form, not on purpose.
And even in the case of Mary Sue's, their flaws are just strengths in disguise that everyone misunderstands and judges them for. But in reality, like, their flaws are the thing that saves the day.
You know, I was watching a movie the other day when we talked about what's the trope that Key and Peele, when we watched the Society for Magical, like does the trope? Does the trope have a name though?
What?
The trope
magical Negro, yes, that is a trope.
So I watched with honors, and Joe Pesci is just the white version of that in that movie. He's literally a bum who spews endless knowledge to these kids. He just shows up and he just imbues them with with presence and perspective and a new view of looking at the world that's usually, you know, like relegated to that trope. But it wasn't.
I wonder if they think that The Matrix falls into that trope.
Probably.
But anyways, I think Backrooms and Obsession, like so many movies and other pieces of media these days, are Rorschach tests, and these wildly different takes from different sides of the political aisle demonstrate that. I mean, I think Bill Holt's take and Preston's take are perfect mirrors of each other in a way, where they're not able to really engage with it as it truly is because of their existing biases. But maybe it's also, you know, just analyzing me that I interpret both of these movies' success as a success for, you know, the sensitive young man who hasn't had much of a voice or platform in Hollywood up until very recently.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day? In the chat, they said you didn't like With Honors. No, I liked With Honors. I've seen the movie before. I never put two and two together with the trope. And I was going back and reading some old reviews, which has become something I've really started to enjoy, is to go read the written reviews from like the critics for movies back in the 90s. And they're so damn well written back then.
I'm surprised that so many of them are preserved online.
You can find a lot of them. Like just using IMDb, you can find. Sometimes you end up with a lot of dead links, but you can still find a lot of them. All right, cringe or cute? You said the cringe is particularly bad?
Yeah, the cringe is a doozy today. So I think we should start with the cringe. Okay. And just a warning, I know you're not going to watch it. You're not going to want to watch this one all the way through. But I'm just telling you now, we have to. We just have to.
Okay.
So this is a POV. You get into an argument with your fiance on the day of your bridal shower.
Okay, here we go.
Actual wedding dress for my bridal shower? 100% yes. Not only is the dress part amazing, but it was the veil that really got me. Okay, so this is the skirt, but it has these pads on the hips to make your body look so snatched. Okay, so here's the first part. Look at how cool this top is. Definitely gonna need help because this is a corset and I trust you to do it. You gotta pull it tight. You're not pulling it tight. It's not tight at all.
I think I can pull them.
Okay. You're doing it so wrong, but okay. Like, you're making this so much harder. This is taking so much longer. As tight as you can.
Now when I go to tighten it, honey, it's just unloosened.
Okay.
Oh my god, his voice.
Then I'll just let my mom do it when she gets there. Well, that took 20 minutes. The necklace, we got some pearls. So these are actually Chad's stepmom who passed away. She gave him these pearls to give to his future wife. And for the earrings, my mom gave me these pearls. Now I'm not be good if I just dropped my ring down the sink. Everyone needs this little jewelry cleaner pen. That sparkle. These Lumify eye drops. They're not the most bridal shoe, but I knew I wanted to incorporate them somehow. To match the shoes, I had to get a purse to go with it. If I ever want to wear these shoes again, I needed a purse to match it. Like, my god, she's a bride with a fiance who can't strap a shoe. You guys thought I was done. Did I get a 6-foot veil? Yes. I thought it was so unique and different. You go like this.
Wow, I get to marry you?
Oh my god. What the
You
fuck?
like it?
You look so good.
Right, let's go to my shower.
So it's like slutty Red Riding Hood. So he's gay. He's gay.
How do you know?
He's gay. He
What's
has
your
to be.
evidence?
I don't have any evidence.
I looked through the comments and I felt
they were
like
all like, "You are so valid."
I know, like all of the comments are just other women saying that they also behave this way. And there was like one person defending the guy.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is he makes it hard to defend him because he let this happen.
I know.
So
it's like, I would feel bad for you, bro, but you're the one marrying her. Like, you're signing up for this for the rest of your life.
He is likely very wealthy and works in tech. Yeah, that was... I'm just gonna read this super chat now. Cringe will be divorced within 5 years, bro. That is
5
generous.
5 years is generous.
That is generous. She's gonna wait out whatever the statute of limitations on that prenup is. That says
whatever
that
the prenup.
They have to be. Wow, that was horrible. Okay.
I knew that one was gonna be bad. So we have the cute to cleanse the palate now.
I like this one. This one's from Mad Cow, and it's a kitty, like it's like your worst nightmare. He's like crawling up through the couch to get you.
I didn't know what I was looking at. It's
like when you say
like a wad of cash in between the couch cushions.
It's like when you say pss, 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 and it comes like through the wall to get you.
Cute one. He's coming from the back rooms.
Yes, he is very much so. Oh my goodness. All right, that was horrible. Let's get started then.
Tom Holland is throwing shade at Marvel, you know, his employer, and it's because he had such a wonderful experience working with Christopher Nolan on The Odyssey. He's playing Telemachus in the movie, and he's gone into depth in a recent interview with GQ about how well Christopher Nolan plans every scene. He knows all of the answers to any questions you may have, whereas directors and crew on the set of a Marvel movie have always been so chaotic and clueless about what they're doing. So he's not really pulling any punches about who he prefers to work with at this point, despite the fact that his next Spider-Man movie is coming out momentarily. So here's what they say in the interview. First of all, he goes into, like why he went into a short hiatus in his acting career. It was more so related to some personal changes that he was making in his life and growing up. But then they later get into his obligations for the Spider-Man franchise, and it came at the same time as a call from Nolan for The Odyssey. He credits The Odyssey with improving Spider-Man Brand New Day because of the extra time that the franchise had to hire director Destin Daniel Cretton. Is it Cretton? And develop the fourth film after Sony pushed it. He says, The Odyssey almost saved Spider-Man because we wouldn't have had Destin. He wouldn't have been ready to make the movie when we were ready to go. We wouldn't have had the 6-month period to develop the script with Destin to get it to a place where it is now. And I truly believe that we've made the best version of any Spider-Man movie going.
Okay,
while it was a tough pill to swallow for Sony, I think in hindsight, they're very grateful that it happened.
Before we move on, there are some timeline issues here, because if that was true, they wouldn't be doing rewrites once they got back to working on it. Yeah. Where after you worked with Christopher Nolan, they're still working the way they did before. I will say, if I remember correctly, this dude is the one who made Shang-Chi, which is the
Destin did?
Yeah, he's the one who made Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is the only real kind of okay Phase 4 Marvel movie that I remember watching. I thought it was perfectly fine.
I mean, Thank you. Of the MCU at this point.
Say that again?
The Andor of the MCU, in that it was well liked by the people who watched it, but hardly anyone did.
Yeah, I mean, all the Phase 4 movies kind of did crappy. But the thing is, it wasn't all that. When was when was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? If that was Phase 4, that one was also kind of okay. But
that one was in 2022.
In general, I liked Shang-Chi, and the director did fine. But clearly, it didn't actually benefit them, because the whole point they get to here is that they're in the middle of shooting this movie, and Tom Holland and Zendaya basically just stop and say, "No, we're not feeling it."
We'll get to that later, because that's from a separate interview. But he starts throwing shade at Marvel with this interview in GQ. He remembered arriving on the Odyssey set and being stunned at the speed and efficiency with which Nolan worked. I think coming from the Marvel space, and I think this will upset Marvel a little bit, his level of preparation is unlike anything I've ever seen. There's not a single question you can ask him that he can't answer immediately. He's also quite simple in the way that he works. There are times when they use fancy camera tricks and things like that, but he really does come to set and he finds the shot. The first sequence that Tom Holland showed up to shoot was scheduled to take 2 days. At lunch, Christopher Nolan informed the cast and crew that they would do it in 1 day, and by nightfall, they were done. During the Odyssey's production, Tom Holland's collaborators on Spider-Man got used to hearing about Christopher Nolan. He said, "I was really able to lay down the law and say, we are not going to come to set and figure it out. We need to know why we are making this movie beyond the fact that it's Spider-Man 4 and they make loads of money and we're going to just have a big summer. Why are we making this movie?" And Destin was super instrumental in that. But it was just really great to constantly be calling up the studio and producers. They mentioned Amy Pascal and Rachel O'Connor, who I love, and be like, well, Chris is doing it this way. This is how I think we should be doing it.
They're going to start calling him Tattletale Tom.
In the end, Tom had 2 weeks between the two productions, leaving the Odyssey behind to play a character that he has been playing since he was 18 years old. He, at times, has seemed restive in the part. In a 2021 interview with GQ, he gave the kind of quote an actor often regrets giving. Quote, "If I'm playing Spider-Man after I'm 30, I've done something wrong." I pointed out that Holland would be turning 30 in June. He says, "It's funny, I saw that quote pop up somewhere recently and kind of reeled because I was trying to remember what I meant. I think the point of it is that I would love to pass the baton on, and I haven't achieved that yet. It's definitely something we talk about a lot at the studio, so maybe I need to change the quote to 37. Then he gives a mischievous smile and says, "I could also have been trying to leverage Sony and scare them into thinking I wasn't going to do Spider-Man 4, and now that I had a new deal on the horizon. So I don't know what it could have been. It could have been part of a strategy to create fear."
He's just a girl. We have a 20 here from Brian Bledsoe. Says, "Marvel also disappointing fans with Doctor Doom coffee instead of finally showing the Doomsday trailer. Marketing for this is stumbling already, which they can't afford nowadays. I don't drink coffee, but get Mary's coffee instead."
Yeah, don't buy Doctor Doom coffee. Buy Mary's Ghost Blend on Casper.
My favorite tweet that said, like, Marvel's big announcement was basically like, drink your Ovaltine.
So he gets back on message and ends that comment saying, "I think the truth is that playing Spider-Man has been the joy of my life. I now stand on the plinth of like, I'll do it for as long as they'll have me." So there was some major shade thrown at Marvel throughout that whole interview. And in a separate interview...
He sounds like the friend who does like study abroad and then won't shut up about some country for the next 6 months.
He is the girl who comes back from study abroad in Paris with an inexplicable French accent. Exactly. You got it exactly right. So in a separate interview on the Good Hang podcast, he talks more about his experience going from an Odyssey set to Spider-Man Brand New Day. And he was more attuned to when the scene just wasn't working. The director sent the crew home and got the scene rewritten when Zendaya and Tom Holland spoke up the first time. He said, "We shot my coverage, now we're doing her coverage, and I would never dream of saying this to an actress that I wasn't with. So I said, 'Do you think that this scene is working?' And she was like, 'No, I don't think the scene is working at all.' I went to the producers and asked, 'Do you think the scene is working?' They said no. And I said, 'Yeah, me and Z are really not feeling it.' I went to the director and said, 'I know we've been shooting for hours and I hate to tell you this, but I don't think that scene is working. What we're supposed to feel, we're not feeling it in the moment.' He's so calm. Nothing can throw him off. He said to the crew, everyone go home. We're going to sit down and rewrite this scene.
He's not
calm. Came in the next day and reshot the scene. And I'm so glad that we did because it sings in the movie. It was just so funny. I was thinking about if this wasn't Zendaya that I was sitting across from. Imagine on someone else's coverage being like, do you think this is working?
The director isn't calm. The director is a hostage who's at the beck and call of both you, who's now become like one of those super demanding actors because you worked with Christopher Nolan, and the studio that wants what it wants, which is why Christopher Nolan will never make a Marvel movie because he'll tell him to piss off and he'll say, I'm going to make my movie the way that I want to. It reminds me of the audio commentary. If anybody ever saw the movie The Girl Next Door with Alicia Cuthbert, where her and the guy are like, I guess they're like listening to a pair of headphones together. You know, they're sitting on the ground listening to music and they're just like staring into each other's eyes. And both of the actors were like, I don't get it. And the director's like, shut the fuck up. just like smile and look like you like the person, basically. Do your job. Like Marvel would have been perfectly within their rights to be like, we're going to sell 10 million pairs of Spider-Man pajamas. Shut the fuck up and just do the scene.
But essentially, Tom Holland got, alpha widowed by working with Christopher Nolan. Was it really his first time? I guess it was his first time working with Christopher Nolan. Whereas other actors on the Odyssey cast had worked with him before.
Yeah, they mentioned that Robert Pattinson.
The constant chaos and people running around like chicken with their head cut off on a Marvel set, and then finally saw people doing it the right way and decided to bring that philosophy over to a totally different filmmaking universe.
It's not like he's only made Marvel movies. Like, what's weird about it is like I think it's a bad like a process that they have, but it makes sense that Marvel movies run the way they do because the directors aren't really in charge. Marvel Studios is in charge because they want to make sure that what comes out looks exactly like all of the other microwaved Marvel slop that comes out. Now, you will get some directors like a Sam Raimi who will be given some freedom to make what he wants, and it's not to say that what's his name, Kevin Feige, is like showing up over their shoulder, but the point is Marvel knows what they want and they expect the directors to get it done. Shang-Chi is, for the most part, decent Marvel slop, is best as I can say. So, like, he's not going to get a Christopher Nolan experience out of a Marvel movie.
Well, who is to say that this example of Tom Holland and Zendaya demanding a rewrite isn't comparable to the story that went mega viral from Wednesday, where Jenna Ortega says Wednesday wouldn't say that, and they rewrite the script to fit her idea of her character.
Because Spider-Man is far more important than Wednesday Addams culturally.
That is true, but at the same time, like, the series was a smash hit. And a lot of people said she was the person to thank for that.
I would love to know what it was that they, because look, how many times have you heard, and I'm sure if anybody here watches audio commentaries, there are plenty of times where actors will point out, like the scene I pointed to earlier, where they don't necessarily get it in the moment, but once it goes through editing, once it goes through sound design, how a movie, it's a scene doesn't exist in a vacuum on its own. A scene exists cut together with a bunch of other scenes. So whatever the inciting incident that leads up to it, how it exits that scene, that all contributes to how you take a piece of art. So does them losing a day really matter in the scheme of things? No, it doesn't. But it is interesting that he's like, oh, now I've worked with Christopher Nolan. Now I get it. He's been making movies for like over a decade, but he's like, now I get it.
Well, they talked about the projects that he's looking forward to in the rest of 2026 and early 2027. And then he said, after the beginning of next year, he's going to be taking another step back and he's only going to be doing projects that he really thinks are the right ones.
Oh gosh, it's going to be nothing but A24 movies. And
he's about to go the same route as Zendaya, where she's going to these art house films, or I guess, the very mainstream commercialized version of an art house film from a studio like A24. But I wanted to know if you think it's at all possible that Marvel could not only afford Christopher Nolan, but shift their working strategy to allow him creative control over a Marvel movie. Because it would certainly not cost more than they spend on the average Marvel movie at this point. And it would definitely make more money than the average Marvel movie does at this point. So I don't see the downside. The only reason it wouldn't happen is if Christopher Nolan outright refused the offer.
I don't think he wants to do it. I don't think he wants to. So for Christopher Nolan, it's so funny because I watch all of these retrospectives on the making of the Dark Knight trilogy in various stages. And one thing that you'll see, they had ideas where the movies were going to go, but Nolan had very distinct ideas for themes and justifications for, to take Tom Holland's words earlier on why these movies needed to exist. Like, I don't just want to go bigger for the sake of going bigger because that's what you do in a sequel. We need to completely change what we want it to be. Christopher Nolan, even when that came out in 2005, was already in high demand. Christopher Nolan in 2026 is in even higher demand. For him, he's got the money. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the resources from the studio. He has one thing left that he can't bargain with, and that's time. He only has so much time to make the movies that he wants to make in his lifetime. Is he going to want to hand over a year? Because he's also somebody who gets his stuff done unbelievably quickly. And that's because
90 days.
Yeah, that's because he does it on his time frame because he's in charge. Can Marvel accommodate him so much that they can get it done in his time frame, or are they going to meddle? He's like, life is too short. I got the movies I want to make. He went straight from working with Warner Brothers a ton. Now he's working with Universal a ton. I don't think the next logical step is Marvel, and I don't think any amount of money that they throw at him would make it worth it for him. I said, would I like to see him take a real cerebral approach to a Daredevil movie? Sure, I would like that, but it's not going to happen. And it's I don't think that there's any amount of money that they can offer him.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. It's just my curiosity would get the best of me, and I probably would go to see a Nolan-directed Marvel movie. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
We got some 20s here from Pop Culture Junkie. Says, the sad part about it is that the cut and paste budget for reshoots, shoot on the fly, fix it in post, slapdash way that Marvel movies are made is one of the main reasons they are so effing expensive to make. One of my favorite tropes now online is it's from like the filmmakers who have like their own IGs that are like comedy bits. It's like when you say we'll fix it in post and then you get to post and they're like, fuck, how do I fix it? Like they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Pat the Plumber says, Brett, you're describing the entire shoot of Mad Max Fury Road. Tom Hardy, A-list actor, almost quit because he didn't understand the process. Then he saw the final cut and immediately apologized to the director. Yes, but that's not the, it's just not the same because Dustin Daniel, is it Dustin? Is that his name?
Destin.
Yeah.
Destin
Daniel Cretton doesn't have quite the cachet, but
no.
And again, Mad Max is also probably a lot more interesting than a typical Spider-Man movie. Though I will say, I rewatched the trailer today. And I liked it more than I did when I liked it when I almost have
for Brand New Day.
For Brand New Day, I almost have a bias against trailers when they come out that I need to wait and let them pass. I rewatched it today and I liked it. But
you didn't like it the first time you saw it?
I remember being ambivalent about it. But I'm excited to see The Punisher. So we'll see what they do with it. Should be fairly interesting. They still haven't confirmed or denied whether Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey, but I'm sure I will have a perfectly good time at this movie and at Doomsday. Like, I'm not pretending like I'm not going to go to those movies and be like, yeah, it was fine. Like, it takes a lot for me to leave a movie and be like a superhero movie and be like, what the fuck? Like, that happens when I try to watch them on streaming. Mm-hmm. Right? But like at the theater, you got the sound design, you get the big moving pictures and flashing lights. It'll be fine.
I didn't feel that way watching any Marvel or DC movie that we've reviewed.
I mean, we're different people.
We're very different people.
Like when I watch Deadpool kill a bunch of the Time Variance Authorities guys while InSync played, I'm like, you know what? My inner millennial sings, and that's okay. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about hetero-pessimism.
Yeah. So art has sometimes an unfortunate habit of imitating life and vice versa. And the offerings from Hollywood tend to kind of map out where people are in terms of different cultural issues like dating and relationships. And obsession is no exception to that rule. I've seen tons of memes related to the crazy girlfriend trope that people are assigning to this movie. And I think it's probably a misinterpretation of the story, but that doesn't really matter because gender war slop always wins the most engagement. I want to show an example of that that I saw on my timeline earlier today. There is this still from the movie showing the female protagonist frowning, and it says, "How your girlfriend looks at you when you ask her to block the guy who raped her in 2022. It's this awfully cynical of a take, but it got huge engagement and lots of guys in the comments agreeing with the sentiment. And they sympathize with the male protagonist in this movie as the victim of a crazy BPD girlfriend who manipulates him and ruins his life. All because he, a sensitive young man, was looking for love. Women, on the other hand, are interpreting it in the polar opposite way, where they see her as the victim because she was put under a spell to fall in love with this guy against her will, and that she was coerced and forced into this position. But obsession, I think, fits into a broader category in recent film and TV shows where they portray relationships in general, but especially marriage, in the most pessimistic light possible. And this has been dubbed hetero-pessimist horror by an article in Compact Magazine authored by Matthew Schmitz. And I want to list some examples to start with that maybe he mentioned and other people have noticed. One was the marriage of Cassie and Nate in the recent season of Euphoria, where their wedding turns into this comical disaster, and a bunch of mobsters come to beat up Nate because he was lying about his finances to Cassie. But he gets into more examples here. There's also Enola Holmes 3. She's featured in one of the principal photographs in a wedding veil. Sabrina Carpenter also on stage dresses up as this caricature of like a Vegas bride. And of course, we have Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in The Drama, which came out earlier this year. And that's about her revealing to her fiance that she, at one time in her teenage years, planned out a school shooting, but didn't go through with it. Robert Pattinson's character then spirals and is like, oh my gosh, who am I even marrying? You never really know a person. So there are these underlying narratives about how you can never really trust someone. You can never really know who it is you're committing to. And it's probably safer to just never get married in the first place and never even get into a committed relationship. So he writes, Obsession, the box office sensation directed by 26-year-old Curry Barker, is a sign that the economics of Hollywood are changing. It also marks the arrival of a new film genre, hetero-pessimist horror, which channels the despairing view of relationships that is typical of Gen Z. In Obsession, Bear, a 20-something music store employee, tries and fails to ask out his friend Nikki. Everything changes when he buys a mysterious novelty item called One Wish Willow and uses it to wish that Nikki would love him more than anyone in the entire world. She does, with a demonic energy that reflects not her natural inclinations, but the spell that he has cast on her. That spell works as a metaphor for the loss of control suffered by individuals who fall in love. to be totally devoted to another, it turns out, is to lose your individuality, your will, your soul. Suddenly, a normal-seeming boy and girl are transformed into the crudest sex stereotypes. The clinging, hysterical woman, and the abusive man who seeks to possess but refuses to take responsibility. Now, I believe Curry Barker himself said that the film is supposed to be a commentary on codependent relationships. So it's not really taking one side or another or casting either of them as the villain or the victim. They say about 3/4 of the audience for Obsession is between 18 and 35. They can find the same dark view of heterosexual relationships in a number of on-trend shows this year. In the 3rd season of Euphoria, which premiered in April, Sydney Sweeney's Cassie marries her high school sweetheart. White turns to black when a loan shark shows up and beats the groom to a pulp, revealing that he had lied about his finances. Cassie cries, "It was supposed to be the best day of my life." In The Testaments, a Hulu series and follow-up to The Handmaid's Tale that debuted this spring, shots of a wedding are intercut with those of a woman's execution. The Godfather did something similar when it showed the mob boss attending a baptism while his lieutenants carried out a series of hits. But that scene presented an ironic contrast between baptism and murder and gained meaning from their obvious incongruity. The wedding scene, by contrast, suggests that marriage and death are very much alike. That's also the thesis of Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, a new Netflix series that tells the story of a young couple a few days out from their wedding, which will prove to be a gruesome affair. Its director, 31-year-old Haley Boston, told the New York Times, "I do have a bit of a secret subliminal message in the show, that heterosexuality is the real horror." I am not surprised whatsoever that a 31-year-old woman is the one who came up with that concept.
You can't help people like this. Sorry.
No. But the argument in this piece, I believe, is that people are not just attracted to media like this because of their presuppositions about relationship dynamics and heterosexuality, but it also convinces them further and causes them to dig in their heels in those presuppositions.
I did enjoy this article making reference to what they called pedophobic eras of the 60s and 70s, especially in horror movies. Scary kids have been a trope for a very long time because it is an inversion on the innocence of childhood to see them, usually in demonic terms as we're not talking like The Sun starring Macaulay Culkin, like the horror movies. It was something demonic. And that at least felt a bit, I can't relate because I wasn't of age at that time. So it's like when you saw them yourself, it was after that time had passed and I was already very young. So I can't say that I lived through it enough to be able to comment on it. I was listening to a review of old episodes of The X-Files, and they were talking about the episode Gender Bender, which is a real episode name that has to do with this alien cult. He's like a member of an alien cult, but he looks human, and he can be both man or woman, and he wants to experience human pleasure and sexuality from the perspective of all, both men and women. And in the 90s, when this came out, people were calling it an allegory for... Scully says... She's like, can you imagine somebody having sex with a total stranger? Like the moralizing of the 90s. And at that time, it felt like a commentary on that issue. But, I didn't live through that at that time. I was much younger. So I would never have put that together except for I heard somebody make that commentary because they were young when that time period was happening. They were a teenager. So it made sense, or they were like an older teenager or something about that. So it makes sense. Like the age you are makes it, will fundamentally change how you review or view these types of things. So a 31-year-old woman having that view on heterosexuality is like the least surprising thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But it's also, it means that, most of these things end up being deconstructionist, meaning like, in it, with every take you share, you're sharing a little bit of yourself as well.
Well, he draws that connection between the the birth rate and a spike in abortions with these films like Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist. He says it explores a pedophobic anxiety that children are actually demons in disguise. And he says, not coincidentally, the abortion rate more than doubled after Roe v. Wade was handed down in 1973. But the thing is, even if these TV shows or movies are sort of engendering an anxiety in people about relationships or about children, it's not like they would catch fire if those anxieties didn't pre-exist whatever project it is.
Yes.
So they're really just in a sort of symbiotic relationship. And he says heteropessimistic horror responds to social shifts. Marriages are happening later and less frequently. One scholar projects that 1/3 of today's young people will reach age 45 without marrying. Young adults are having less sex. Even school dances seem to be declining. This is a fascinating detail. High school in New Jersey this year canceled its homecoming dance due to lack of interest. Another in Florida did the same after only 20 tickets were purchased. Attendance drop-offs were also reported in California, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. This retreat from relationships comes in the wake of Me Too, which expressed a new sense that relationships are dangerous, especially when they involve men and women. In the 2019 essay that coined the term, Asa Saracen observed that heteropessimism generally has a heavy focus on men as the root of the problem. It encompasses everything from women's everyday complaints about men's failure to commit to more radical condemnations of men and marriage. It casts coupling between men and women as passé, even strange. This is what I thought of the recurring themes in 2026 shows and movies related to marriage. I perceived it not really as a condemnation of marriage, but a sort of way to toy with something that feels alien to us now, especially with so many kids in this generation having divorced parents. And yes, the fact that marriages, or rather first marriages, are later and less frequent, it stands to reason that marriage is kind of a foreign concept to a lot of people now. So of course it's going to fascinate in a way that it never did before. It's like an otherworldly thing that people are exploring through art instead of through their own life experience.
Yep.
And then he goes on to say, a dim view of conventional relationships is not confined to critical theory seminars. 1 year before Me Too took off, Pope Francis declared that the great majority of our sacramental marriages are null. It's hard to imagine a clearer indication of heteropessimism than a pope's calling into question the bulk of Catholic marriages.
So what does he mean by null?
I had no idea, by the way, that Pope Francis said that, and I believe he means 2016. But I've said it before. I agree with that that prediction. So basically, it would mean people are under the impression that they're getting married validly in the Catholic Church, but they are not. Because for whatever reason, they are not informed about what it is they're agreeing to, or they're not freely consenting to enter into marriage with this person, probably due to their own ignorance of what is required in a Catholic marriage instead of just a civil marriage. So I would generally agree with that take. Anyways, various voices have begun to push back against this negativity. Phoebe Bovey found it necessary to write a book arguing it does not make a woman frivolous or conventional to like men. Magdalene Taylor insists in the New York Times that our all but unprecedented sexual, social, and romantic liberty should make us more, not less, optimistic about heterosexuality. Obsession suggests a darker reading of the trends that Taylor celebrates. Bear, inclined to lean on old formalities, hopes that asking a girl out on a date can lead to a serious relationship. His friend Ian takes a different approach. He gets the girl by hooking up with her in a casual situationship. He has more confidence than his friend does, and not surprisingly is better able to navigate a deregulated sexual marketplace. So it's like Bear is the beta And Ian, his friend, is the alpha who excels in this brand new arrangement of sexual dynamics. It's only the less capable, less beautiful, less prosperous who have the need of antiquated forms. Indeed, many hetero-pessimist complaints center on the uncertainty of dating in modern life. What exactly is our status? Why hasn't he texted me back? How will he respond if I ask for definition in the relationship? The costs and benefits of sexual liberty are distributed unequally. A very different response can be found in Sally Rooney's 2021 novel, Beautiful World, Where Are You? Alice, a millionaire novelist, writes to her friend Eileen, the editor of a literary magazine, about the problems with heterosexuality and the lack of a workable alternative. People our age used to get married and have children and conduct love affairs, and now everyone is still single at 30 and lives with housemates they never see. Traditional marriage ubiquitously ended in one kind of failure or another, but at least it was an effort at something, and not just a sad, sterile foreclosure on the possibility of life. When we tore down what confined us, what did we have in mind to replace it? It's giving G.K. Chesterton's fence analogy. You know, why would you tear it down if you don't know why it was put up in the first place? She reinforces this theme by having Eileen fall for Simon, an older man who is devoutly Christian. She finds his paternalistic beliefs about women charming. He has a primal desire to subjugate and possess her, which she finds sexy. Rooney connects heterosexuality to patriarchy and suggests that maybe patriarchy isn't such a bad thing. Even if one accepts this provocation, a problem remains. Suppose that women do want a man they can look up to. Where are they going to find him? Simply hymning the importance of marriage won't produce such men at scale. Neither will finger wagging. What's needed is a change in economic and social conditions such that men have more to offer women than they currently do. Until that change comes about, the horrors of heteropessimism are unlikely to end.
There is no way to do that in an equal society. I don't know, like, what do they mean? Like, what are those men going to... That used to be economic.
Right, exactly.
That's gone now. Yeah.
And he also, I mean, I think there's a bit of a quiet part not being said here, which is that the women are not offering much either, but...
Well, what do they, like, yeah, I mean, like, it's such a tired discussion. Like, what do both of them offer that can make it a partnership for both of them? It used to be that you had very distinct roles, and you kind of took comfort in the fact that you knew that you brought something very, very specific to the relationship, and that was okay.
Now, the reason why women often say this annoying line, like, I am the table, I don't need to bring anything to the table, I am the table, is because they're clinging to an antiquated idea that they are special because they have the potentiality to become mothers. And obviously men don't. That makes them more special and inherently valuable and protected in society. But now that they have abdicated that role, there's no apparent reason to hold women in such high esteem. So that's why we're in the
and that's just the
intractable dating and gender war that we're in right now. And the only thing I've seen in terms of men responding to this has been looks maxing, because suddenly they're looking for somewhere to offer value in a woman's life that they can't offer anymore in terms of financial support. So they're gonna be a hot boy toy instead.
And that's just the childbearing aspect is just like one side of that discussion. The other side about how they've kind of abdicated their ability to stand out. Also, the fact that you have access to like the worst side of a person, and this can happen for both men and women when they complain endlessly about the opposite gender, where like you've demystified any sense that you put the women on the pedestal because they've proven themselves to be every bit as ridiculous as men can be. So there's nothing there for anybody.
Yeah, everything that used to be said behind closed doors is now indiscreetly just blasted all over social media, and there's no mystery or polarity between men and women anymore.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess. Like,
how do you fix it?
Again, I think I'm not totally on board with the argument in this piece, because I think there's going to be more and more media focused on themes involving marriage as marriage becomes less common, especially among Gen Z.
Well, in the prior generations, these stories were made about divorce because divorce was the most interesting thing that they could be talking about.
Yeah, now it's marriage and the gravity of the commitment of marriage that's become an object of fascination for people because they don't have as much firsthand experience with it.
Yeah, almost like back then you got married because it's what you did, so the interesting story was about the divorce. Now there's more of a gap between the choice to get married and actually doing it, so the story is there.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about how Robert Pattinson did actually work out to get in shape to play the Batman, and this other lady looks like a piece of bread.
Seems like Robert Pattinson has major regrets about something he shared in an interview with GQ back in 2021 when he was preparing for the Batman, and it's because he joked very sarcastically about not working out before taking on this role. At the time, he claimed to be unwilling to put on muscle for the role, which, when receiving a $4 million paycheck, seems like an easy task. He, at the time, said that during quarantine, he refused to work out. In fact, he said, "I think if you're working out all the time, you're part of the problem. You set a precedent. No one was doing this in the 70s. Even James Dean, he wasn't exactly ripped." So he's making it sound like he was sitting on the couch eating potato chips for all of the months leading up to this movie. That is not, in fact, the case, as he has clarified in a more recent interview with GQ. He said he was responding to critics of his Batman body by saying, "I worked out every day." Everyone was like, "You didn't work out at all. I worked out every effing day. Even after that, I still look like I didn't work out. I worked out twice a day at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just because I said it in an interview once that exercise was uncool. I was trying to sound cool."
I kind of
the nonchalance that
he is one of my favorite people in Hollywood. I can't explain
really
why. But he's just like, he's so supremely unbothered by most things, and his dry sense of humor is absolutely the type of thing. Like, when people were bitching about this, it just made me laugh. I was like, I don't know if he's being serious or not. I don't think he is, but I give him a pass even if he is being serious because I can't tell.
Reading the most recent interview that he did in connection to The Odyssey, it was almost impossible because he's constantly interrupting himself with these self-deprecating remarks. He's making fun of like all these different characters that are arguing with each other in his head. He's known as having a very British dry sense of humor that definitely didn't come across in writing in this previous interview where he was just, "Oh yeah, I didn't work out at all before the Batman. I'm too cool for that." Now, in contrast, I mean, think about what Lily Reinhart said last month, I believe. She was whining about how a director told her to suck in her tummy while they were filming.
Yep.
She can't be bothered to suck in her stomach for one like split second in whatever project that was. I don't think she clarified who the director was or what project that was on, but still, it's like, could we see some level of dedication on both sides? Like, it's a two-way street here.
I remember Ana de Armas worked out extensively to get into shape for Ballerina.
Yeah.
Like, she talked about that, I think.
I mean, there's only so much you can do to become jacked as a woman without the help of steroids. But, you know, it would be nice if they had the same level of dedication that a lot of actors do. And that cannot be accomplished with just a GLP-1 drug. And I have a disturbing example of 2000s crash diets making a comeback in the recent Sports Illustrated swim runway show. They featured a Bravo reality TV star named Stassi Schroeder on the runway.
Is that how you pronounce it? It's not just a weird version of Stacy?
No, I think it's Stassi, like short for Anastasia, but that's just my guess. And she admitted that she did not turn to the help of Ozempic or Wegovy to lose some weight before the show. Instead, she lost weight the old-fashioned way, which is probably even worse for your health and your looks. She said
mental health too.
She really wanted to look incredible for the show, so she went on a massive diet. She skipped breakfast, had only a salad for lunch, and did not touch a carb after 5 p.m. She was having only about 600 calories a day. And the weight just melted off of her body. But that kind of diet is very hard to do because the cravings are insane. It's not easy for her to diet that hardcore, but the results are amazing, and she felt great about herself. Now, based on the images of Stassi Schroeder on the runway, this does not look like the right way to go about losing weight.
Explain what you mean by that.
It wasn't replaced with any muscle volume.
Yes.
And you can see that the results didn't really pay off for all the suffering she went through.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it the slow way, even with the help of a GLP-1, would still involve some weight training.
Yeah.
And that was not clearly the result that we saw. But, you know, I guess, like, props for doing something difficult. I don't know. Hope she's okay mentally. But that's definitely not the right way to go about it. And people were still just tearing her apart for her looks after the photos came out. So it wasn't even, like, it didn't even fly under the radar. Like, people were still bashing her for her body, even after losing however much weight she did in such a short period of time. Yeah. Just wasn't worth it. But yeah, but here, seriously, contrast that though with the total lack of dedication from so many actresses who refuse to gain or lose weight. Well, or gain or lose muscle for a role.
They consider it a political act to do that.
Seriously, yeah.
So there's some other examples. A better example, Ana de Armas is going to be in this like psychological thriller called Sweat, which is about Emma Kent, who's a fitness influencer who dreams of matching the success of her idol. And she was like posting like the fitness routine they have her on to do that, and it's ridiculous. Another good example would have been, look at Felicity Smoke in season 1 of Arrow versus like the later seasons where she clearly was then told to like get in the gym with Stephen Amell, who's like is, you know, really, really jacked at that time. He is again now because he's going to be in Baywatch. So he had to get back into shape for that. But the point was, she's like, her calves are like twice the size of what they were in season 1 because all the women and the men in the show worked out together. And it was the CW. They're like, yeah, we don't really do fatties here. It's the CW. Like,
you don't do realistic.
Like Lily Reinhart. We wanted to fire her from Riverdale because like we told her to suck in her stomach.
She was referring to Riverdale in that interview?
Probably. But the point is, they're just like, look, it's the CW. We don't do fatties. We don't do uglies. We don't do any of that. Like, the only reason we're going to put Felicity Smoke in a wheelchair is to, like, make her legs look even more prominent. Like, sorry.
Well, it's just a wild disparity in the public reaction to, for instance, Emma Stone shaving her head for Begonia, and everyone is just like gooning over how awesome that is.
But that's also not like the same type of that's a vanity commitment. It's
but they're
not
like,
a physical
the
commitment.
dedication, the sacrifice that you made, the physical transformation that you underwent for this role. But the second that it involves an actress's weight,
because the weight
waistline measurement, it's out of the question.
The
you
weight
cannot bring it up.
Yeah, the weight is a political act. The weight is a political issue, not anything else. Like, you could even make an argument that the hair one is too, right?
But it's like literally easier to lose, 10 pounds than it is to grow back your hair that you just buzz cut it off of your head.
No, because she has the best hairstylist in the world, and she'll get extensions as soon as she can.
That's true. But still, I mean, I personally, maybe this is one of the many, many reasons why I'm not an actor. is that I would not be willing to do stuff like that for a role.
Yeah.
But if you're in that industry, you do need to understand that you're embodying a totally different identity. You're taking on a totally different identity. You have to have a certain level of like vulnerability to be able to do that, to step into someone else's psyche and also their physical form.
Seems like Ana de Armas really enjoys this part of it, because they said that she did something very similar for when she was playing Marilyn Monroe in Blonde.
What did she do to prepare for Marilyn Monroe?
I think that might have been makeup that they were talking about specifically for the, like where it says for Ana de Armas to truly transform into Marilyn Monroe. She spent up to 3 hours a day turning into Monroe while the late Icons movie played in the background. Oh, so she's like working out, maybe, I don't know. But then I said, like, watch the stuff of her working out and doing the gun training for John Wick, for Ballerina, and now she's doing that for this other movie she's making where she's playing a fitness influencer. So, like, they couldn't even find him for Baywatch. They had to hire Livy Dunn because she was already a gymnast.
Yeah, how far Hollywood has fallen. Well, speaking of Marilyn Monroe, she had a notoriously strange diet that she followed, and it was written in this old article that gets reposted every so often. She explained that she would start every morning with filling a tin cup on a hot plate full of milk, and then she would crack an egg in it and whip that around, and she would drink that like it's her morning coffee. Then she would go all day, acting, and then she would, on the way home, she would grab like some fresh like steak or lamb from a butcher and eat that with raw carrots for dinner. And if she was feeling crazy, she would have the spontaneous ice cream sundae on the way home from work. But that would be rare, I'm sure.
I forgot about this story from the other day. Chris Hemsworth lost a ton of weight, which is sparking concerns that he won't even be able to come back to play Thor anytime soon.
Chris Pine also looks kind of like terrifyingly skinny
right
at
now.
This point. I think he's like vegan or vegetarian, I forget.
Chris Hemsworth weight loss talk is picking up after the Thor actor posted a new photo from his next movie called Cockroach. Hemsworth shared the black and white images on Instagram and announced that the film had just wrapped. The pics of him looking much leaner than his usual MCU frame. Yeah, he's getting older now too. I'm sure keeping that muscle on is not exactly the easiest thing in the world.
Once your testosterone just starts plummeting in your 40s.
Alan Richson he just says, he goes, I'm on TRT. Like I just, as soon as he hit a certain age, he started taking TRT so that he can continue to look like Alan Richson. And look at The Rock lost a ton of his muscle mass this past year too. That was a big deal. Like people are like, is The Rock going to come back to wrestling? I'm like, to wrestle who? He looks tiny compared to the wrestlers now.
Didn't Dave Bautista do that as well?
He's still like, but the thing is, comparatively, The Rock and Batista are still way bigger than the average person.
Well, it also takes a lot longer to lose muscle mass than it takes to lose fat. So you still have a good foundation. Is that true? I didn't know that. Yeah, you still have a good foundation to work off of if you fall off of your regular weightlifting routine, There's just so many like myths that go around, especially about Marilyn Monroe and her physique, because people will spread photos of her from when she was like in the middle of a pregnancy at her highest weight ever, and they'll say that's what she looked like for her entire career, when in reality you look up her actual measurements, look at 23-inch waist or something crazy like that. But that's just so that like women on Facebook can post that photo of her where she's at her highest weight with the caption, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Yeah, I can't wait to use that one day.
Like there are so many misattributed quotes to Marilyn Monroe talking about how it's like awesome to be fat.
I love the quote.
Anyway, to circle back to Robert Pattinson, I did just want to make sure we mention this. He, in this same interview with GQ, first of all, forgot what movie it was that he was there to promote multiple times. He was like, honestly, I don't even know why I'm here right now. I don't know which movie I'm supposed to be promoting right now. But he says he was the only actor to read the script for The Odyssey before agreeing to star in the film. Granted, he has a very minor role. He's one of the many suitors that are in Ithaca trying to get hitched to Penelope.
He's in the trailer a lot for a minor role.
Yeah. He showed up 3 months into filming, and he didn't have like a lot of screen time. I don't expect him to be in the movie for very long, but he still read the entire script, which people who are in the main cast didn't do prior to agreeing to be in the film. But I can't blame them, because it's like, in their position, who would say no?
Exactly. Literally,
who would say no to that opportunity? It's obviously a huge moment in any actor's career to be cast in a Nolan film. So I don't see why anyone should be trashing them for that and like putting Robert Pattinson on this pedestal like he cares about the art more.
Oh, bro, it's just, he's got like, he made a comment where he's like, yeah, I thought I'd do the Batman 2, like I'd do like a movie in between, but then it took forever, so I've done a bunch of movies in between. Like, he's a busy guy.
And one of the comments says Robert Pattinson can't risk not reading the script since he made Twilight. LOL. Okay, he did 5 Twilight movies. I think he would have dropped out if he really hated it that much. And I think people kind of meme this narrative into existence that he hates Twilight or he thinks it's cringe or whatever. He's said the opposite many times, but he probably correctly assumes that Twilight could never get made today because we live in such a cynical time where people can't really engage with something like that in earnest.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many moments that come off as corny in 2026 that at the time nobody, batted an eye at.
Yeah. Yep.
Sadly.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to the super chats then.
Okay. Burned Oils, I am not going to read any more of your lesbian fan fiction about me and anyone, or not lesbian fan fiction about me. I'm just not going to read that out loud. So we're going to move on. Corey Anderson said this episode number celebrates the year William the Conqueror winning the Battle of Hastings. Wait, don't tell me. 1066?
Crazy.
I knew it. Okay.
Hastings, Minnesota.
I feel like a nerd for knowing that, but I'm also proud of it.
Yeah.
But yes, it took place in Hastings, Minnesota. Weary Traveler. That was the 20 from earlier. Yep. Bossen said, I am also a racist. Good to know. We can say it. I'm surprised that YouTube is letting you super chat that phrase. Shane H. Wilder said, according to Cambridge Collegiate Dictionary, bi-monthly is both twice a month and every 2 months. It is literally bi and swings both ways. Okay, that's infuriating, and I think there should be a new word so that bi-monthly or bi-weekly means twice a month or week.
And right now the poll is split 51%.
That's insane. It literally means both. It shouldn't. That could lead to deaths.
Yep.
3D Zach.
I read that. Was that the long
crisis party?
Yes. Yep.
Earlier? Thank you for that. Corey Anderson said, how does Mary not have a stalker yet? You have no idea. Anyways, Robert Delera said there seems to be a lot of unhinged people freely walking around harassing people. Whatever happened to asylums? Yeah, make asylums great again.
Wait,
I say it all the time.
I can do this one for Surge. Thanks, Reagan. Isn't that Reagan who closed the asylums? Or
yeah.
am I misremembering that?
I believe so.
Yeah. Thanks, Ronald.
Yeah. Pop Culture Junkie said, I've heard this from 3 different friends.
I read that one. That was the 20.
Shane H. Wilder said, Reagan doing away with asylums was the worst thing he could have done. Bring them back along with shock therapy and frontal lobotomies. I'm not so sure about the last 2 pointers there because, well, I'm questioning it at least. I wouldn't say no, but I'm questioning the efficacy. Burned Oils said filming Mary in secret in her apartment would be more interesting as a movie than what Backrooms is. She most look so silly when she thinks no one is watching.
Dance like no one is watching, they say. That's what they say. Dance like no one is watching.
Okay, well, that's fucking creepy. So let's just not talk about filming someone in their apartment. How about that? Moon at Noon sent I think that's like supposed to be a dog.
So there's a
heart and a dog. And
is that like a dog winking?
Rose. Yeah, I think it's a dog that's winking. That's
okay.
Nice.
And then and then a rose. Thank you, Moon at Noon.
You read that Corey Anderson super chat earlier, I think. Shane H. Wilder said, "We don't need more evidence that he's gay. The video speaks for itself. The prosecution rests, Your Honor." See, it doesn't make sense to me, though, because if you're gay, it's the Big 26. Like, you can go be gay. Not only is it the Big 26, but it's Pride Month. Go be gay. No one thinks that it's wrong to be gay anymore. So you don't have to marry a woman and have a beard.
Yeah, but
and also live in misery.
You say nobody, but, you know, like, that's not inherently true. There are still people that, you know, who knows what his parents are like.
I'm just saying, it's basically socially acceptable at this point. You can just be a gay guy without, you know,
maybe he just likes
burying a beard.
Maybe he just really likes her because she's mean. You know what? That's also a trope of the old days of the movies. Like, the girl's a jerk, and the guy's like, I love it when she's a jerk.
But there are totally guys who are like that, though. Yeah. Sadly, like, it's not just a trope. I've met them.
Well, it's
I've seen these couples.
It's
in real
one
life.
thing if you're that weird and you like it when she's mean to you in private. It's a whole nother thing when you let her humiliate you on the internet by doing it. That's no good.
I mean, both. I mean, even in like real life conversations, I've witnessed. I can't even get into details, but I have witnessed some couples who legitimately, it's like a humiliation ritual.
It's like Mike in Suits when he meets Rachel and she's just a dick to him because she's stuck up and she's got a chip on her shoulder, and it's Meghan Markle, and she's like, she says something really mean.
She plays it so well for some reason.
She says something mean to him and then walks away and he goes, "I love you." I was like, yeah, that's about right.
Robert Delara said, "Mary saying, 'How do you know he's gay?' should be on a shirt." That one was funny. I mean, I'm just asking an honest question, you know? We said Brett. What?
Go ahead. Your internet went red for a second there. It's still red. Hopefully we don't lose you here.
I hope we're good.
Keep going. Yeah.
Weary Traveler said Brett prefers freeze-dried Taster's Choice, not that gourmet shit.
I don't even know what Taster's Choice is.
Huh?
What is Taster's Choice? Is that like an off-brand? I like the Walmart off-brand of stuff. I buy Walmart French fries.
Oh, it's instant coffee?
Oh, no. I get, I forget the name of the brand.
Freeze-dried coffee? I didn't know there was such a thing.
Well, I do get, when I have the, when we go to Walmart, I get the Walmart brand cold brew concentrate. But otherwise, I've been drinking this, like, it's called, like, Califia brand. Like, Califia Farms.
I have that.
Yeah, that's what I've been drinking for cold brew. I bought the blonde one.
Roast.
I bought the blonde roast, and Mary kind of broke my brain the other day when she said blonde roast has more caffeine than dark roast. And then, for some reason, in the Califia brand cold brew, the blonde roast has 5 milligrams less caffeine per 12 ounces than the
medium?
Than the medium. Makes no sense.
Huh?
Yeah.
This whole time I've been living a lie.
It says it on the back. Like, it has like a thing that says like 175 milligrams of caffeine per 12 ounces for the dark roast, or for the medium roast, and then for the blonde roast is 170 milligrams.
Okay. It's supposed to be the other way around. Like,
how am I supposed to live on that?
It also blew my mind, but yes, an espresso shot of blonde espresso has like 85 milligrams of caffeine, but like a standard shot of espresso has 60 to 70 milligrams. So that's why I always get blonde.
It's so funny. Like, I've been averaging about 11 to 12,000 steps a day, and more of that has become running. I've done more running in the last couple of months than I've done in my entire life as somebody who just...
You gonna run a marathon?
No, that's the first thing I thought of. Even after a month of it, I'm like, who the fuck does that by choice?
I know.
Because I do it intermittently. I do a couple of blocks running, and then I walk a block, and then I do a couple of blocks running, and then I walk a block. I'm like, who are these people?
I think it appeals to the tall.
Maybe.
You know, because wouldn't it feel so great to have these long legs that just launch you into the air? I don't think short people are meant to run like that. But not for our kind.
But in general,
I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're running for no reason.
I like
Why?
the tweet that always goes viral as a meme. It says they're like, don't even like, as like, how do you even run? Am I supposed to just start running? Like when everybody's looking at me, do I just walk and then just suddenly start running?
I would feel so embarrassed if I went out on a run in public. And obviously when I see people in public running, I don't give it a second thought. But I would feel like everyone is staring at me. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, she's like breathing so hard. She probably never works out. Like, it's just a whole psychodrama taking place inside my mind.
But like that for me, like, so as I'm putting in about 12,000 steps a day and running probably a quarter to maybe half of that when I go out at a time, it's usually like I get home and I've walked 3,000 steps, maybe 4 if I get enough time. Because what I'll do is I'll walk around the skate park while I wait for, it's okay, while I wait for Olivia to get done. But like now, like on Sunday, I just did no caffeine. I had to walk all 10,000 steps, and I stopped at like 10,001.
Isn't that like, that's like 4.5 miles, right?
It's like 4. I think it ends
or
up being,
it depends on how tall you are. I don't know.
But yeah, so definitely like the caffeine helps, unfortunately.
Robert Delara said these actors are taking Spider-Man a little too seriously. Come on, it's not Shakespeare.
Oh yeah,
they could do with a little more efficiency, even just in the interest of saving time and money. Not because it's a masterpiece, but because this is, as I think Pop Culture Junkie said earlier, the reason why they spend so damn much on these movies.
I'm picturing him like he like rips the mask off. What's my motivation? What's Peter's motivation here?
I need grounding.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, it's Spider-Man, not Goeth's Faust. Shut up and act.
Yep.
Yeah, he was getting a little bit uppity there. Dingus Khan of Gongolia said, I went to Caribou Coffee yesterday for my free birthday drink. I got a mint mocha and thought if Brett gets a cast brew flavor, this should be it.
Well, I definitely
mint mocha.
I wouldn't get mint. The only way I would do a cast brew flavor would be if they could do if I could have a cold brew. If I could have a cold brew, I would do that because I don't drink regular coffee. So
the concentrate, or
I would do a yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if they could just do like a packaged non-concentrate that you can. But I'm guessing that costs a fortune, and yeah. The cans of Starbucks cold brew are so fucking expensive for like a 9. It's not even a 12-ounce can. It's a 9-ounce can.
I think they justify the price because it's a nitro cold brew, right?
What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know. There's nitrogen in it, so that's like fancy.
Yeah, like I looked it up at one point, and like I remember explained something stupid about why nitro mattered, and I'm like, ugh.
I don't think it matters at all, but some people are devotees. Robert said, Obsession, same as Supernatural Season 4, Episode 8, Wishful Thinking. I am not familiar. I didn't ever watch Supernatural.
I've watched so many shows in my... Like, there had to have been an episode of Warehouse 13 where some artifact made somebody, like, hopelessly in love with someone. I can't remember which one, though, but I know it happened.
Katie said, hello, Brett and Mary. The Australian people are angry as the Prime Minister has helped himself to a $57,000 pay raise while destroying my country.
I don't even go to Tim and be like,
but
look.
Bad news in Australia these days.
Like, all the politicians give themselves raises. Can I just give myself a raise here?
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, the love spell trope is as old as time. Look at 1942's I Married a Witch. where Veronica Lake casts a spell to make Frederick March fall in love with her. Yeah, if anything, I think it's probably a different take on the trope because it's the man who casts the spell. Usually it is a woman who casts a spell on a man to fall in love with her. But they kind of turned that trope on its head to switch the gender roles there. So I don't know. I don't think it's really being read correctly by either side. Shane H. Wilder said, never forget what Christian Bale did to get down to 120 pounds for The Machinist. He had only black coffee, 1 apple, and 1 can of tuna, or 200 calories a day. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, you know, but it worked. And he, I think, talked about that after the fact, how he kind of got addicted to it, which is another way of saying he developed an eating disorder. But he did, of course, recover from it. It just it forms new reward systems in your brain. So you have to kind of break out of that. Boston said $2 for Karen Ghost Victorian Princess Mary Deus Volts. Thank you. Mary should hire her simps to stop the stalkers. Well, you see, there's a bit of an overlap there between those groups, so I don't know if that would go.
Makes the hiring process difficult.
Really does. It's hard to vet that. Weary Traveler said, I love bitchy women unironically. Here we have an example in the chat. If anyone feels like speaking their truth right now, it's the time. This is definitely not just a movie trope. There are men who they just love the drama. They love it.
That's spiritually very feminine, and those guys are weird.
Pat the Plumber said, I can't afford spaces, Bernie Doyle's. I don't know what that means. Weary Traveler said that was a Pulp Fiction reference. Tisk ask shame.
I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in years, and it was never like like all of that is just was never like I know that that's sacrilege in the industry, but for the most part, most of Tarantino's work has never really I never really cared all that much about it. I remember liking Reservoir Dogs more, but again, barely remember anything from the time period.
Sacrilege in the cinephile world.
I mean, it's like that with a lot of things. Like when people make the references to a lot of it, I'm just like, you know? Like that's why I always say I was never a movie buff. Like I was a TV buff from a specific time. And then maybe some stuff that's older that I learned to love at a later time. But for the most part, I was not a huge movie buff. Never has been. Though, oddly enough, nowadays I like movies more. I like going to see movies more than I like watching TV. Because like I said, I turned on Spider-Man Noir.
Experience.
I turned on Spider-Man Noir and I'm like, 8 episodes and they're all like an hour long. How the fuck am I supposed to do this? I don't have it in me. My wife is going to hate it. I don't want to make her sit through it. Like, we're not doing this, okay?
You could try it on 2 times speed.
Oh, it's even worse.
It as sad as this sounds, it feels analog to go see a movie in theaters. It feels like a slow version of consuming media for me.
Oh, we got a 20 here from Pop Culture Junkie. Says, Brett, I'm a big Warehouse 13 fan. Awesome. He says, Magnetism, Season 1, Episode 3, is where Casanova's diary causes individuals to fall into an obsessive, uncontrollable state of love. See? There it is.
Real. Boston said, I'm here simping for Mary for mean Mary, not nice, LOL. Wow, we've got a lot of toxicity in the chat today. T. Raizu, I don't know if I said that right, said, don't get to watch live usually because of night shift work, but I got to today. I missed this. Also, Brett, you forgot your boy from, what is this, April 19th for Cute of the Day?
What's the name it's under?
Maybe T. Raizu, I don't know.
You
might have to put in a second submission for cute of the day if it's not in his notifications.
There was one that I skipped because they posted it with their kids, and I didn't know whether the kids wanted to be in the, like, it was like it wasn't a baby, and it wasn't it was like a teenager.
It's probably best to avoid that.
I avoided it just because I didn't know if a lot of times people don't think about that unless you're on this side of it, but I just avoided it. So that was, if that was you, it wasn't on purpose. It was just or it was on purpose, but it wasn't for malicious means.
Shane H. Wilder said, I have discovered the best workout running around the airport with 2 backpacks filled with camera gear. I killed 3.5K calories in one day. That's insane. I'm able to burn like 100 calories by working out for like an hour. Yeah. I mean, not exactly. I'm being hyperbolic, but like it's bad. Robert said, obsession is why Aladdin had to win over Jasmine. I have not watched Aladdin.
I was very young when I watched Aladdin.
It's actually before my time, but I also wasn't allowed to watch the Disney princess movie.
I watched The Lion King more than I watched Aladdin.
I watched Lion King for the first time when I was in middle school, and I was like, this is what y'all have been obsessed with this whole time? I hated it.
All right. I think, is that everything? I think that's all of them.
No.
Let me just double check, make sure we didn't miss any. Oh, we got one over. Oh, there are? Go ahead.
Yeah. Are there some on Rumble?
Yeah, one from Broody Gambit says, Proverbs 28:1, the wicked run when no one pursues. That's what Russell Brand should have listed as his favorite Bible verse.
That would be a safe option. Is that everything from Rumble?
Yes.
Okay. No Control said, I will stand out in front of Mary's house 24/7 to make sure no stalkers show up. Just jokes.
I will stand outside to make sure no stalkers get in, and I will look in the window to make sure that nobody's in there currently.
Great. Boston said, hire the cool ones who passed the vibe test. Duh, Mary. Sounds like a little bit too much work for me. Pop Culture Junkie said, Brett. Oh, I think you read that 20 earlier, right?
Yes.
About Warehouse 13. Okay. I think we're all caught up then.
One more from Shane H. Wilder. FR Michael Sweeney. What does FR stand for? Father Michael Sweeney. OP and Sean Bryan, the Papal Ninja, did a talk at the CCC. Is that the Christian Creator Conference or the Catholic Creator Conference?
Yeah.
And are turning into a podcast on being a man. Some should check it out.
Interesting.
Cool.
I'll have to check that out. I'm interested in being a man.
Next, they can ask, what is a woman? That's what we can do next. All right, guys, before we go, hit the like button on this episode and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Share the episode out with everybody that you know. It helps us out a ton. Mary, where can they find you?
You guys can send me validation on Instagram. That is Mary Archived. Or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And help me get TikTok famous. That is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. If you want to follow me, Instagram and X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC is live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than just watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I believe tomorrow, assuming that nothing has changed, Libby will be a special guest on the show, which is always fun when Libby shows up. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.